All right, by now let's delve more on the situation in the nation's tertiary institutions and the impasse between ASUU and the federal government. Joining us is a former Minister of Education between 1999 to 2001, Professor Tunde Adeniran, who joins us from Ado-Ekiti, the Ekiti State capital. Thank you for joining us. Professor, what are your thoughts about the prolonged ASUU strike and the stance that has been taken by the federal government on one side and then ASUU on the other?
It's an issue of very, very great concern. It is great. And what makes it a tragedy is the fact that many Nigerians have been making comments, entertaining themselves without appreciating the dimension of the dilemma that we have. Without a strike itself, the sector is facing serious challenges. And now we have this situation in which when you shut down educational facilities, institutions, you are shutting down the future of the country. What I have observed, which is worrisome, is the fact that the operators, we see them operating as adversary negotiators. In other words, the government and the ASUU, as if they were not working for the interest of the country, for the interest of their own people, and for the interest of the future, because they seem to be seeing themselves as adversaries, which is unfortunate. Now we have a situation in which one is happening, that is ASUU, on trust deficit. Agreements have been reached, they have been breached. On the other hand, the government is complaining seriously about unrealistic expectations. It is time yet now for all stakeholders to move in. We cannot just leave the situation to the hand of the National Assembly to intervene. All stakeholders, including even the former heads of state, because this country is in trouble. We are in serious trouble with the strike going on endlessly, and then the stand-up attitude of the various positions. We see on one hand, the government feels that what they have in hand, this is what they can do. They cannot go beyond a particular situation because ASUU seems to be asking for what they cannot ask. People have attributed this to a number of situations. One is the economic situation in the country. Some people say due to mismanagement, some say due to corruption, some also say because of the insecurity, and so on. But they should come forward and table what is on ground. On this other side, ASUU also seem not to be appreciating, to be getting the signal right. ASUU is also they are also victims of what is going on. Some of them are parents, some of them are even students, the postgraduate ones among them. And of course, whatever happens, both they and the government, the future generations are deriving from them. And they will be victims. The spillover effect of what is happening will affect everybody. We are all victims of what is happening. But at this point, I believe that ASUU should see when you have great patriots, distinguished academics like Nimi Briggs and Jibril, Jibril, the former NUC executive secretary, who have been on the side of government, speaking for the government. If they cannot convince the government to implement what has been approved, it shows that there is something wrong. There are some things fundamental. And it is important for us to get this right. And the signal is clear that they will have to change tactics at this point. Because if they continue along the line that they'll be going, it seems that they may not be getting the right type of response that they are looking for. And this country will continue to suffer for it.
Professor,
cannot blame us for asking for what was agreed before. And we cannot also blame the government for now saying, at this point, they cannot meet up to those expectations.
Now, Professor, let me quickly just come in there. Forgive me, let me just quickly come in there. You've been a former Minister of Education, and you've had to deal with this union at one time or the other. Give us more insight into why you think the government may be stalling into meeting ASUU's demands.
I think the problem is this. Now, with the negotiations, nobody has come up to say that, look, what was agreed before was not agreed. The government is probably slowing down because what they have before them is more than what they can cope with because of other competing demands that are coming to them. At the same time, that does not wish away the needs of that particular sector. And as a former Minister of Education, I know the challenges that government has been facing in different areas. But we need to prioritize. Nigeria must take education the way it should be taken. Education is the most important sector in the Nigerian national sector. If you do not regard education as key to whatever else you are doing, you have not got it right. We should revisit our priorities, take education the way it should be taken, because it is the key to everything. And of course, what has been happening all along is that when certain things happen, particularly when you have what they call it a windfall from whichever sector, people think of some other sectors before they ever consider education. And education will be there. It will not go away. You cannot wish it away. It's demand there. And one thing that occurred recently, which someone drew attention to, is the fact that, look, education has become in a long way. Before now, there have been strikes, certain issues have been resolved, even back to the period of the Shagari acquisition. What happened at that time? Shagari ceded, the government approved most of the demands of ASUU. The one area that was not addressed fully at that time or accepted is the issue of autonomy.
All right, Professor, a final one, a very quick one. Do you think do you really think there will be a resolution to this impasse between the ASUU and the federal government? Very quickly.
There will be a resolution. There will be a resolution. The resolution will come. Members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, these are eggheads. I believe they are capable of deeper thought and a visit of their positions. They need to change tactics and strategy because they should now understand. These are great academics who represented government, and they were able to convince government they were certain positions brought to them by ASUU. If the government cannot go along with that, it shows that, look, it may be difficult for government to really accept anything coming from any committee. But at this point now, ASUU must review.
All right, Professor Tunde Adeniran, former Minister of Education between 1999 to 2001. Thank you so much for your thoughts on the program News Across Nigeria.